Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization, and today I'm going to teach you about a crazy growth hack that can multiply your muscle by 1,000% and can put money in your bank account. Remember when you were walking around the street and no one would talk to you and you had raggedy clothes? Now you're on a yacht full of supermodels. No, I'll do you one better. If you zoom in super close to the actual construction of the yacht, it is made of the ossified skeletons of supermodels. You want to live this life, yes? Good. You're here just for the right video. The growth hack, and I hate that fucking term, and I sure as shit hope it didn't make the thumbnail title, but that's all Scott the video guy, so we'll see what happens, is to take a month off of training once a year, every year, to grow more. What? It seems backwards, doesn't it? You would think so, but it's not. So, anytime I talk about this, people are like, a month off? British accent times is going to suck. Are you mad? No, wait. Are you mental? Fucking mental? I love it when Brits say mental. We just don't say that in the States, but it makes perfect sense as soon as we hear it. Once every year. This is insane. First, let's talk about logistics, and then I'll convince you to do this. It might be like the first thing that comes to your mind is like, when is even a good time for that sort of thing? Well, there are actually some really good times to stay the hell out of the gym. One is the month of August. A lot of folks, actually seemingly the world economy, especially in the northern hemisphere, everyone's kind of taking a little bit of a break in the month of August, especially if you're from the countries of Europe where everything is better, but we don't really know why. Maybe it's the welfare state, but I'm not quite sure. I just know we're better than America and their crazy crime and guns. In any case, in Europe especially, man, August, there's a lot of shit's not open, bro. You go to Italy in August, there's nobody there. You're like, what the fuck? And the Italians all went on vacation somewhere else. So a lot of times in the month of August, it's a really good time to travel, to go on holiday, as the folks around the world say it. And it's really just super chill. And so it's a great time to take a month off of training. Another time is the winter holidays. I don't have to tell you guys why, because there's a trillion other things going on, and the gyms are closed sometimes, and it's cold, and there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of family, there's a lot of this, a lot of that, and also a lot of people get a good break. People get a week or two or a few days at least off of work, so it's good to take some time off so you're not just like slamming the gym when you're on your rest. And also, here's a really interesting hack, Growth Hacks 101. Is what I'm going to say this, you guys are going to be like, what? But then you think about it for a second, and you're like, oh, okay, fine. January, the month of January, taking a month off in January. That's right, train all the way through December and then take a month off in January. What? Why? You already know, because you probably already guessed it. January in the gym is a fucking zoo. There's literal zebras and fucking tigers and shit running around. There might as well be, because there are so many people that it's their first week or 2 or 3 in the gym, sometimes ever. Sometimes it's their once yearly tradition of getting back into their fitness and health. It's the resolutioners. And look, the resolutioners are dope people. They're just like you and me. They're just trying to do the right thing. But there's a lot of them. And a lot of times that means the gyms are just totally packed. And we also know, sort of good news, bad news, that the resolutioners probably won't be around in, well, really 2 weeks, but definitely 4 weeks if you start training in February again. And the gym is like about as empty as it ever is. So that's kind of cool for you, right? So you're thinking, yeah, Mike, you did this backwards. You're telling us when to take time off for a month, but you haven't really put up a convincing reason as to why 1 month away from the gym is going to somehow get us better gains. Please, Dr. Mike, make this make sense. Make me want to love you. Love? No, we don't do that. But science, we will do. So there are numerous benefits, at least 4 categories of benefits, of why taking a month off every year from the gym, no lifting weights, is a really huge net positive, potentially for many people. First is the psychological upside. And this is one of these things that you have to earn to see. If you don't work hard, or let's say you're like a trust fund baby, so you don't work at all. You just pretend that you're starting a candle wick making business, but really you do nothing. Weekends lose any meaning to you whatsoever, except maybe that's when more of your friends are around to party with, because normally people don't party on Tuesday night. So if you don't work hard through the week, the weekends lose meaning, so they sort of lose their value, and it doesn't make any sense. In just the same way, If you don't train very hard or very consistently, I'm going to tell you flat out right now, you do not need a month off of training. This is only for people who are training to see how close to their breaking point they can take their bodies and minds in order to get that last little bit of drop of gains. This is for serious people approaching hypertrophy training with a warlike mentality. Interestingly enough, huge swaths, very high fractions of professional athletes around the world take at least a month off from all sport training once a year. Most people who compete in the Mr. Olympian bodybuilding do that. They don't talk about it much. Sometimes they do mention it. Ronnie Coleman used to take several months away from the gym at a time after the Mr. Olympia and the European tour. And that's definitely a thing that happens. But note, it's the serious people that do it. Here's the benefit. There's tons of benefits, but the first benefit I started to talk about and got away from myself is the psychological benefit. If you are going to war with your body and mind day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, after 11 months of that shit, you are barely hanging on to any semblance of love or desire or interest in the gym. You damn near forgot why the fuck you were in there. The bad side of that is that's not sustainable. You're going to quit sooner or later or just fold over. You're just going to basically psychologically overwork yourself and be like, fuck that. You'll burn out. But also, if you, at the 11th hour, 11th month, pull the plug and stop training, the first week away from training, you are going to be thanking God you are not training. The second week away from training, you're going to be like, this is an amazing break. The third week away from training, you're going to be like, this is really good. And I'll talk about all the physical stuff that's happening to you during that time that you'll be aware of. And you're like, okay, this is really good, but I missed the gym. By the fourth week, you are going to be a person that is not safe to appear in public spaces because you are now rabid, animalistic, violent. You are like a vampire. You're like Blade from Blade Trinity, the best of the Blade movies, where you need that serum or you're about to go be biting some motherfuckers left and right. You can't help yourself anymore. You need chalk and clanking weights and barbells and mirrors and steel. You have to have it. It is a soul desire of yours. Soul like the human soul. And also soul like the only thing, because that's the only thing you're thinking about is when do I get back to the gym? The really cool thing is that reinvigoration of love for the gym that will occur within 4 weeks is so powerful. You are officially addicted again to the gym, just like you were at the beginning of the last 11-month phase of training. And then that powers your ability to push yourself to your limits for, check the clock, the next 11 months. That's how that works. What the weekend is to the week, it lets you relax, recover, so that by the end of Sunday, you're like, this is boring. I can't wait for Monday to start. I want to do some shit this week. Just that same way, by the same psychological reasoning, you do 1 month out of the year. That's your weekend for the year. Works on the same principles, even though the time scales are different. Again, if you never push yourself hard enough to know what not wanting to go to the gym feels like for weeks on end, don't worry, this video is not for you. You're not sufficiently serious about your training, and that's okay. Fuck training. What a fucking waste of time if you take it way too seriously. Training is for everyone, and you can train 3 or 4 days a week consistently and actually take a week off here and there on vacations and never need to take a month off. But if you're really serious, you both probably need a month off on occasion once a year, and also you know what that need to take that time off is like because you have pushed yourself enough to earn it. Next, joint and connective tissue benefits. Taking a week of deload, easier training, absolutely heals up your joints and connective tissues, which do take a pounding in normal training. But that probably won't fix everything. It'll just buy you another month or 2 of training. And after, 11 months of that, the deload doesn't buy you 1 or 2 months of pain-free training anymore. It buys you a week or 2 if you're lucky. And then by the end of the next mesocycle, maybe even by the middle, maybe even by the start, you're already kind of in shambles. You're like, okay, my joints are completely toast. They're done. 2-week active rest does a really, really good job. And most of the time will heal up everything for another multiple months of training, maybe a half a year. But 1 month away from the gym will heal shit that you didn't even know was wrong with you. Many, many times, there's this crazy super delayed onset soreness, especially in the joints that I've noticed with folks who take time off. After a week of being off the gym, they feel pretty good. After 2 weeks, they actually start to get even worse joint aches and pains because your body was going to be healing up your elbows with the immune system infiltration and all the inflammation that it was going to do, but you kept pounding your elbow so hard that the body's like, dude, I'm not even going in there. It's like a row of ambulances standing around the center city where the police and the military are fighting a crazy monster that's swatting people off the street, trying to break skyscrapers. The paramedics might not go in there during that time. They want to, but there's a row of tanks and the military's like, don't go in there, man. There's war in there. Just stay here for a sec. Let us clear this out. Then you can go help people safely. Your body works on a similar idea where if you're really pounding a joint into submission all the time, your body kind of doesn't even try to fix it. And a lot of times that means it doesn't even start up the inflammatory processes really well. And that means that you actually feel quite good, right? But it's masking the real issue. There's a ton of damage going on there under the hood. It's micro damage, but it's real. So when you finally let go, a few days, a few weeks into that process of not training hard, your joints start hurting, which is good because that means your body's like, oh, the battle's over, right? It's just like smoke coming out of the city and the monster's clearly dead. And are we going to eat him? I mean, it's thousands of pounds, ostensibly made of meat. Would you guys eat like Godzilla if he was dead or King Kong? I don't know. I'd try it. Hey, get him here. Monster hot dogs, 2 for $1. That guy appears like 30 seconds after the monster is over. You're like, damn, that's a fucking business model. In any case, at that point, then the ambulances come in, pulling people out of the rubble, putting them on stretchers, etc. Just that same way, your body will be like, oh shit, it's all good. And it's going to come in there and the body's infiltration of the immune system to those joints, connective tissues, cause that inflammatory process. That is the inflammatory process. And then that causes joint and connective tissue pain. So you're going to be like 2 weeks in and your joints start hurting more, or like a week and a half. And you're like, oh my fucking God, dude, Dr. Mike fucked me. This is hurting me. No. Give it a few more days, a few more weeks. Once the joints start hurting, they're going to keep hurting and they're going to hurt worse. A few days later, they stabilize. A few days later, they start to feel better and better and better. And then after 3 or 4 weeks, your joints feel like you've never, ever hurt them before. Now, if you have pre-existing actual injuries, it's not going to heal everything, but goddamn, is it a really, really good thing. 1 month of joint and connective tissue healing with no formal resistance training can heal the deep problems in your joints, connective tissues, and your mini torn muscles, etc., like nothing else. There's no replacement for it. That's a reason that when you hurt something, the doctors say, well, just take 6 weeks off. It's not the best advice usually because there's a lot of compounding factors like, well, you should probably train light to help the recovery process, blah, blah, blah. You can train the rest of your body. Doctors don't know that, sometimes don't care. But really like 6 weeks off is kind of a stamp seal of approval of like, for sure, some shit will really, really heal if you just leave it the fuck alone. That's definitely true for a month. It's definitely true in the context of really hard training. Next, there are systemic factors, systemic fatigue that builds up. Some of them are neurological, not just psychological, but your actual nervous system is kind of frayed. It's kind of damaged a little bit. And sometimes this is reflected in hormonal factors. Athletes who train really hard for a long time tend to have a decrement in their testosterone levels chronically and a chronic increase in their cortisol levels. Now, I'm no scientist, but testosterone grows muscle and burns fat, and cortisol sometimes helps fat burning, sometimes blocks it depending on the context, but also absolutely is catabolic. It destroys it, helps break down muscle tissue. So this is not something you want high, and testosterone is not something you want low. So you're really just in complete opposite characteristics hormonally of where you want to be. That month off can take your test levels and start boosting them back up, and especially can take your cortisol stress hormone levels and really level them back out, which is a really, really big deal. And sometimes these hormonal axes, they take a few weeks. Sometimes an active rest of 2 weeks and definitely a deload of 1 week is not enough to really clean and clear the slate for another damn near year of productive training. This is especially true, again, as with all of these, if you were really, really overreached before you needed to do this. So if you're a competitive bodybuilder, you just did your last show of the season, you're just spent. You fucking hate training. You don't barely get pumps anymore. All your joints hurt and you are overreached like crazy. You're like lying awake at night, too much cortisol, not enough testosterone, bad news. You need some time off to let everything heal. Lastly, hugely important is local muscle resensitization. Your muscles want to grow, but as you signal grow to them over and over and over for weeks and months of training, they get a little testy. They get a little bit hoity-toity, a little too high and mighty for your signals. And they're like, look, if it's not caviar and champagne, we're not getting out of bed for it. So every time you stimulate a muscle that's new to stimulation, it grows and grows and grows and grows. But as you keep stimulating it and keep stimulating it and train harder and harder and harder and push yourself further and further, the muscle keeps growing, but less and less and less and less and less until a lot of your training maybe the training you do in that last month before you take a month off, is the amount of anabolic machinery activated is roughly equivalent to, or sometimes more, sometimes less than the catabolic breakdown machinery that's activated. So if you're activating a lot of anabolism and very little catabolism, the net result is huge muscle gains. That's a fresh, very resensitized muscle, sensitive to muscle growth, sensitive to training, because it hasn't experienced it in a while. That's, by the way, exactly and only why noobs to training grow really well. They have very sensitive muscles that have never experienced any kind of overload before that's worth writing about. But as you continue to stimulate anabolism, the anabolic response starts to go down a little bit, and the catabolic response to training goes up. When these two lines get to parity, you are literally, well, still figuratively, but figuratively with a huge exclamation mark after it, spinning your wheels. Can you imagine getting someone after a training session and you're like, dude, how was your workout? Fuck, blew it up, man. Biceps are all over the fucking place. You're like, yeah, dope. Do you think you have like a net anabolic response from that? Like, nah, bro, I'm catabolic as fuck right now. I'll probably lose muscle from that workout. You're like, oh, wait, why did you do that workout? Like, I don't know, but I can't take a month off because I'm addicted to training, bro. See you tomorrow. We'll do legs. You're like, ah, that doesn't make any fucking sense. So if you take a month off, your muscles forget at a chemical and physiological level that they kind of ever really been trained. Now, they don't forget all of it. Muscle memory is still a thing, but they forget a bunch. When you come back, your muscles are so sensitive to growth that they are going to grow back to their original size within 1 or 2 months for sure. But here's the kicker. In most cases, they're still more sensitized than they were before you stopped. So you've gotten back all of your gains. You're back to the same size muscularly you were before you took the month off, probably 1 or 2 months after you come back. But your muscles are still significantly more sensitive to hypertrophy than they were before you took that time off, which means you keep training hard, you keep pushing it, and you'll see net gains that if you just kept cranking away, you might just see a flat line. That is the biggest deal of this whole thing, because taking a month off literally at a molecular and physiological level reinvigorates, resensitizes the growth processes. And this is something you got to experience for yourself because it's fucking wild. First, you will get pumps when you come back from warm-ups, which, by the way, means warm-ups are growing your muscles now. What? Unbelievable. From teeny tiny volumes of training, 1, 2, 3 sets per session, per muscle, you're going to gain crap loads of muscle size. And because you regain all your size in a month or two, that sensitivity is still largely intact. Some of it, of course, has been wasted away by that first 2 months of training, but a lot of it is still around. And then that extra growth sensitivity, the fact that you get way better pumps than you used to, the fact that you train with way lower volumes, way less hard, and you're still gaining muscle, now you crank the volumes up gently. Now you crank up the intensity. Now you use some exercises that you've been saving for when you really need an effect. And for months and months after, you get fresh new gains that you probably would not have gotten nearly as much if you never took that month off. The exact identical analogy here is how fresh your brain is at work on a Monday if you actually took Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday almost completely off and just chilled out. If you worked all the way through the weekend, did you show up Monday? The boss is like, what do you think, man? Ready to tackle this other project? You're like, what project? Oh shit, I'm at work. Oh, thank God I put on pants. You have no idea what the fuck is going on. You're burned out. But if you really took a break over the weekend, you come back Monday, you're fresh, you're ready, you are excited. And it's going to be only till next Friday afternoon that you really start feeling fatigue again. So you've set up an entire unbelievable productive week of work because you've resensitized your brain to being productive at work by taking your brain the fuck out of the work process. That's how it works. Works. There, I said it 5 times. Same idea with muscles. This is why we do the game. Now, during this month off, how should you be eating and how should you be training, quote unquote? So you're not training, but there's a couple little workarounds that we can talk about. During this month off, activity. Getting 6,000 to 10,000 steps a day is just healthy and helps you recover and keeps the blood flowing. Don't just sit there and get no steps for a month. You'll just become a fat fuck. So that's a good thing. As far as nutrition and body weight, you're going to lose a lot of intramuscular body water volume. You're going to lose body water because your muscles, when they're not in a constant state of being trained, what's called tonus reduces. Some of the water leaves the muscle. Most of the connective tissue and the contractile tissue is still totally intact for at least a few weeks, but the muscle will shrink down in size. Because all of your muscles do that, you will lose a ton of intramuscular bloat, which sucks because then you look deflated, like literally. But you'll lose pounds and pounds of weight over that process. Towards the last few weeks, especially last week and a half, you're going to lose muscle as well. So generally speaking, you can expect a 1 to 2 pound on average per week. I'm not saying it's linear, but on average, a 4 to 8 pound total loss in weight for many people over that entire month. And that's totally fine. So yes, eat at maintenance, but really just eat plenty of protein, eat mostly healthy foods, have plenty of treats and snacks, eat to your hunger, and make sure your weight is at best stable. Then you're gaining some fat, losing some muscle. Don't worry, you'll reverse the shit out of that soon. Or your weight is declining. Don't just stop eating and lose 50 fucking pounds. That would be a disaster. But if you're less hungry, which you will be because when you don't train, your body's like, I don't need any of this shit. Fuck that. Like when I stopped training, I started eating like 3 meals a day of protein only. And I'm like, I'm really full. So it's okay to lose some weight because you'll lose some muscle and some fat. And then when you come back and start training again, you're going to gain pure muscle. And I'll talk about this later, but your recomposition is going to be nuts when you come back. So the biggest thing you shouldn't do is gain weight. If you gain weight during that month off, net body weight when you're not training, you're gaining a lot of fat. And it's not a big deal, but you're going to have to work it off and it's kind of annoying. You're going to get your best look maybe 2 or 3 months after that instead of 1 or 2 months after that. Here's the thing. If you're freaking out about losing weight, don't. Because you're going to lose muscle and fat and mostly body water as you do this whole month off. Let's say you started at 160 pounds. And then after a month, let's say it's 10% body fat or something. And after a month, you're at 152 pounds and you're at 12% body fat, which look, fellas, I'm going to say this in a little bit. Psychologically, it's tough. It sucks. You're going to pay the cost. As you go back to eating normally and training harder and harder and harder after you come back, you are going to start floating back up to 160 pounds, regaining a crap load of muscle, but you won't gain any of that fat because you're eating at maintenance. And training for the first time, you're going to gain net muscle and you'll lose fat while you're doing it. So after 1 or 2 months, you might be back up to 160, but more at like 9% body fat. And you have a crap load of sensitivity for more gains. So you're in an unbelievable spot. Remember, every single day, every single week that you look and feel not your best and your month off is you putting money in the bank as an investment to your future gains. If that wasn't the case, the fuck you guys think I would recommend it to you? What, crazy? Yeah, take 6 months off. You won't hear me say that shit because you just lose muscle and you'll gain it all back, but it's just kind of a waste of 5 months. But that first month pays back like crazy. If you're into some pretty serious joint and connective tissue issues, you actually don't have to take the time off completely. You might want to try something like some mobility work, and especially something like yoga. Do yoga 2 or 3 times a week when you're in your month off, maybe for the last 3 weeks. That might be the thing to do during this downtime because it really helps you work on your flexibility. It absolutely lets your muscles desensitize because it's just not that hard, but it can give you more body awareness. And because of the eccentric loading and the stretching it does, and it moves your body through really full ranges of motion, it's going to help provide a little bit of a rehabilitative stimulus to heal your hurt muscles, joints, and connective tissues. So that if you do some easy yoga for a few weeks during that time off, you come back, you are limber, you are free, you are healed, and you are ready to just punish your body with tons of training that's going to make you grow the best you have grown in, well, a year. During this time of deflation, economically deflationary period, when you are in that month off and you're, well, objectively looking worse every few days in the mirror by a very small margin, but look, we're all pretty obsessed with our physiques here on this channel. You're going to notice. How do you handle the body images during this deflation? How do you handle that? Because it's tough. Listen, first thing I'm going to say is you're just going to have to put on your delayed gratification hat. Human beings, as differentiated from most other animals, have the ability to see into the future and delay their gratification. You do not get what you want right when you want it in most of things in life. The best things in life, building a fortune, building a business, building an excellent physique, building relationships, is a lot of delayed gratification. When you see someone enrolling in medical school, successfully accepted to medical school, if you're like, dude, so when do you get paid? They're like, well, I guess in 4 years, I really start getting paid. And then 2 years after that, when residency's over, I really start getting paid. If you see that interaction between two people and the person that's not going to medical school, the one that's asking the questions goes, dude, what are you nuts? Like, you're an idiot, bro. You got to get paid today, baby. We out here on stacks, cheese on cheese, bread on bread. You're like, right. You're a fucking idiot because when I'm driving a BMW and spraying fucking puddle juice onto you while you're in the street, poor as fuck, and I'm a fucking famous doctor with all the MDs and DOs, you're going to feel like shit. And I'm going to feel like the fucking man because I put in 4 to 6 years of delayed gratification, of not getting paid, of paying, of racking up debt because I know something that you don't, Mr. Person on the street telling me not to be a medical doctor. I know the payoff at the other end is fucking huge. Same idea here. Yes, you will look worse. Are you a child or some shit? You need to look your best every day? If that's the case, bro, forget the fucking gym. You need to swerve when you go to the gym, go the other way to the fucking psychiatrist's office. You need to sit down and talk about some shit for a while. You can take a month of not looking your best. Don't you worry. And if you ever start worrying, it's okay. We all worry. I don't like to look my fucking worst. Remember, what is coming after the end of the month is a second renaissance of your physique. It is the greatest transformation you will ever witness versus the first one you ever fucking had when you started lifting weights in the first place. It is such a beautiful thing. It will take you to completely new heights. Just think of the following bullshit psychological experiment, which they've done on much less grand scale. If someone put a $100 bill in front of you and said, look, if you can just not grab this for an hour, we'll give you $1,000. Are you going to do it? Or are you going to grab that shit and fuck off? Unless you at your normal job earn roughly or more than $1,000 an hour, you'd have to be some kind of fucking idiot to grab that $100 bill. Just wait an hour. Instead of a $100 bill, we got gains. You want to make bullshit shit gains right now by never leaving the gym? Dope. My man, grab that Hyundai spot. You want to make a fucking amazing gains and get to the highest level of muscularity and leanness you have ever been in your life? You better wait. You better wait that month. That's all I got to say on that. You are thinking on long timescales, year-long timescales, really forward thinking. You're not going to be a child and obsess over your current appearance. Now, we all have those thoughts like, let's swallow it. Eat that shit. As soon as that thought hits you, like you get out of the shower and you're fucking drying your armpits and you look at your gut and you're like, good God, I'm supposed to be an authority on bodybuilding. What the fuck am I? That's all right. We got those thoughts. But don't worry. 3 months later, when you flex in the mirror and your abs have abs and they physically cut the mirror into pieces, you're going to be like, oh, that's right. So think about that. Think about the future. You're doing something with a point, with a purpose, because you are an advanced thinker. You're a critical thinker. You are someone who can delay their gratification, proving that you are two things, a human and an adult. It's a big deal. And if you ever get really dark, remember, at most, in almost every case, 2 months after you come back, you are going to be in the best shape you've ever been. Can't wait 2 months? How the fuck did you get through school? Maybe you didn't. Sorry. Feel free to go back to school. What if you use gear? You a cheater. You're a PED user. You're trying to cheat the Olympics or whatever steroid users do. My best advice is either come off completely from gear use or go down to testosterone replacement levels, TRT levels. Why am I saying this? Because I've known people have taken a month off and they blast their gear really high to offset the fact that they're not training so they can still look a little bit like their best. I don't have to tell you folks, that's either a preposterous waste of money and also a really bad idea for your health, because if you don't have the incredible health boosting effects of regular training and you're eating like sort of blah, but you're running a ton of gear, your blood work's like, bro, are we not friends anymore? Did I do something to piss you off? Because at the end of this month, man, I'm going to send you some blood work you're not going to like. That's fucking just going to happen. So back up off the gear. And here's the thing. There are independent reasons to take breaks from steroid use. You can't just blast all year round. That's a stupid idea. I've done it. It fucking did not work out. Taking breaks is a good thing, at least periods of much lower dose. And here's the thing. If you're on gear, you're going to deflate like crazy, bro. You're going to lose fucking 15 or 20 pounds during that month of muscle and gain 5 or 10 pounds of fat. It's going to be terrible. But remember, you are resensitized to steroids now. And when you kick the gear back in and training and diet, those next 2 months after you come back are going to be like every other day. Someone at the gym is going to be like, dude, you look different. 3 days later, they're like, dude, what the fuck? And then that's when you start lying to people. You say, just fuck creatine and broccoli, bro. Just dedication, man, willpower. People just don't have it. Meanwhile, you're in the bathroom, fucking needle and all that stuff. You degenerate. I wouldn't know anything about that. What I Scott the video guy. You don't get beautiful skin like me taking drugs. God, look at this. My God. Am I even a real human, or am I something perfect and flawless designed to tempt all of humanity? The jury's still out. All right. That's all done. Let's talk about the last thing on our menu today. What do you do when you come back? How do you come back? Because there is absolutely a way to really fuck up. And that way is the way that you will be feeling is the right way. And that is to come back and hit it hard. That's fucking stupid. For 2 reasons. One, your body is detrained. Your tendons and ligaments are detrained. They are not ready for the kinds of forces and the kinds of volumes. And the predictable way, right from the scientific literature of how to get hurt, is to do very little activity and then do a lot. You get hurt right after that. Happens all the time. And spring practice and end of summer, soccer players come back from rolling doobies in the car with their friends, and D1, they run them into the ground, and then half of them fucking tear their hamstrings the next week. Happens all the time. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Don't do that. The second thing is this. You are so resensitized to growth that doing the bare, insulting minimum, the easiest training you'll ever have in your life, is going to put slabs of beef back onto your body and burn pounds of fat. So if I tell you that it's both stupid and dangerous to go really hard right after, and I also tell you good news, by going ultra easy, you can have amazing results, why in God's name would you go hard? And I have a good answer for that. It's because you feel like it. But if you take a month off because you know it's a good idea, not feel, you probably also have the mental proclivity to delay gratification that much further. And then when you come back slow. So let's talk about what coming back slow means. Exercises. We got exercises, loads, aka weights, volumes, frequencies, and then what to do with diet and cardio. So first on exercises. Pick your least effective, but still in the running movements. You know, like if you had a tier list of all your best leg, like quad movements, your bottom 2 out of the top 6 that you think are good for you. Take your bottom 2. Why? Because the bar for what makes you grow muscle after you haven't trained in a month is so fucking low that even your worst movements are overqualified for the task. And because you use them to regain the muscle, after a few months later, you've regained all the muscle and you're your best ever, you have all of your best, highest stimulus to fatigue ratio movements, your favorites, totally untouched. Green fields galore, so you can get into the hack squats and the leg presses and the high bar squats that you love because you did some pendulum squatting and some Smith machine squatting in the first few weeks. It's not great exercises for you, but they're damn good enough to bring all of your gains back. Then you're in this unbelievable position where you are just slingshotted into growth mode and you have all of your best exercises ahead of you. That's when you use them, right? It's super, super, super straightforward. And a really big recommendation here is for all the exercises you use, when you come back to them anew, try to really perfect your technique with them. Because all of the pressure of having to do PRs and big loads and high reps from before, it's gone. You haven't trained in a month. You're not in the shape to do that shit anyway. So you might as well take the time when you're coming back to doing some, let's say, some pendulum squats or something in that first month of training. Really slow the eccentric, really take the pauses, really get your body positioning going and build on that excellent technique because you're not doing impressive weights. You're not doing impressive reps. You're not hitting PRs anyway. You might as well rig all that back, establish a better than ever baseline of technique, and then ride that technique out as you go for week to week to week and add loads and add weights and add sets. So then at the end of the day, you've just reinvigorated, recharged, improved all of your exercises, and they're now working to your favor. Because I know when you've got a certain system, a certain technique, and you're hitting PRs, you don't want to renorm because you're like, fuck, I got to take a plate off each side. It's going to be offensive. I hate it. It's just like demotivating. Cool, don't do it. Fuck it, keep going. If the technique is decent, keep it going. Keep the PRs coming. But after a month of training is the perfect time for you to renorm your technique. All right, that's exercises. Let's talk about loads. How much weight do you use? You probably want to start with sets of 5 to 10 reps, but with very high reps in reserve, like 4 or 5. That's right. That means you take roughly your 10 repetition max, which will be down significantly from what it was anyway, and you do like sets of 5 with it. Or you take your 15 rep max and you do sets of 10 with it, or anywhere in between. This is profoundly easy. It's insulting. But remember, you haven't trained for a month, so you're growing pounds of muscle just by doing that. And because it's sets of 5 to 10, the volume is still very low per set. There's not a lot of metabolites being created. So your probability of burning yourself out and being desensitized to volume is much lower than if you came back and did sets of 20 or 30 or something like that. Sets of 10 to 20. Sets of 5 to 10 are great. It's more than enough volume. Don't lift ultra heavy. Keep lots of reps in reserve. Stay nice and safe so that you don't just get hurt when you've come back. Control the eccentrics very slowly. Generally try to take some pauses at the bottom of your lifts because remember, you are rehabituating your muscles and connective tissues to lifting again. So it's a combination of kind of like rehab and training. And it works super well, but just be easy. Don't put tons of weight and hit PRs. None of that stuff. That is a recipe for injury. But every single week, as your nervous system wakes up, as your muscles wake up, you are going to be getting really much, much, much stronger. So add 5 or 10 pounds to the bar or the implement every time and see how long you can add load for while still not approaching failure remotely, keeping it submaximal. During that whole time, you'll be recovering your strength for a few months back to roughly where it was. And at the same time, you're going to be recovering your size. And at the same time, you're never going to have to push very close to failure. Amazing. So that at the end of that 2 or 3 months back, you're in a position where you have another 7 or 8 months to go of hardcore training, and you have gotten all of your muscle back and burned off all that excess fat, barely trying. Then you start trying and you get your best gains ever. Your fatigue level at the end of this regain process, if you keep it submaximal, is going to be super low. Great, because you got another 6, 7, 8 months of super hardcore training ahead, and you need all the low fatigue you can get. If you go ultra hard when you come back, not only do you risk injury, pretty significantly, I might add, but yeah, you'll come back faster. You start training hard again, you'll come back in a month to be your best. And then what? Then you're tired again, you're beat up again. You just fuck yourself up. It's like taking a long weekend off, really reinvigorating your brain, coming in for another 5 days of awesome work, and then on the Monday doing an all-nighter at work, burning out, and then by Wednesday you have to call in sick. You didn't think that through. And yeah, you felt like coming back Monday and just giving it all. But you're not a person who relies on their feelings. You're a person that relies on calculated action for the long-term benefit. What about volumes? How many sets do you do? Here's the thing. When you come back, your volume sensitivity by design is incredibly high. Thus, your volume tolerance is incredibly low. You will get debilitating soreness for more than a few sets per exercise, sometimes per week. So my best advice to you here is by default, come back and that first entire week of training, do one working set. That's right, of 5 to 10 reps. That's right, very far from failure. One working set per muscle, per session in that week. So if you train a muscle twice in a week, that's 2 sets. 2 sets for chest, which absolutely will start to regain slabs of beef. What? How? Well, remember, you didn't train for a month. Any amount of remotely challenging training and your body's like, oh my God, hell yes, let's start doing this. And then you auto-regulate based on the normal stuff. So you start with 1, maybe 2 sets of everything in the first week, and then you auto-regulate. It could be like 1 set of stiff-legged deadlifts and you're even too sore. So next time you just do 1 set and hope you don't get that sore. You get some pumps, you get some soreness, and then you adjust. And because you're going to be resensitized, you're only going to need to add a few sets here and there. So after 2 or 3 months being back, where you usually do maybe 6 to 8 working sets per muscle group per session, you might only be up to doing 4 or 5. and you got all your muscle back. Amazing. There's that new window for you to enter to get the new gains that you would never have coming to you if you didn't take the time off. It might take months for you to come back to your typical volumes. Remember, you are growing that whole time. You are not rushing to come back to your typical volumes. You are just going on autoregulation and saying, okay, if I'm recovering on time, just barely, I don't touch my volume. If I'm recovering way easy, I'm barely getting sore, I can increase my volume. And if I'm getting sore as shit and barely recovering, I'm sure as fuck not increasing my volume. I might even have to decrease it a little bit. Sometimes people do like 1 set, 1 week, 2 sets in the second week, and the third week they do 3 sets, and the 3 sets cooks their asses because they're so resensitized, they don't even heal on time for the next workouts. And they're like, okay, week 4, I'm back down to 2 sets on most things, 3 sets on some things that have recovered. And then autoregulation takes care of the rest. Frequencies. How often do you train each muscle group? No more than 2 times per week. Later, when you're in your serious new growth phase, 2 or 3 months after this month off, you can train your biceps and your delts 3 or 4 times a week, do that kind of frequency periodization, no problem. But to regain your lost muscle and then some by a little, 2 times a week per muscle is so totally good enough. Sometimes 1 even works. Diet and cardio. How do you eat? This is a big question. If you get into a surplus right away, you're going to gain lots of muscle, but you're also going to gain some fat. And remember, you're already a little fat after taking a month off of training. You don't want to get much fatter. So what you want to do is the diet you had before you took the month off, whatever your maintenance calories were with that, take those and start eating them as soon as you get back into training. That's going to be your rough maintenance calories for that point. Now, your actual maintenance calories are going to be a little bit lower because you're smaller, you're less muscular, et cetera, et cetera. You're not training with as high volumes. So it comes pre-built with a little tiny bit of surplus, but not much. As you regain your muscle, this becomes your new maintenance. And as you regain more and more over weeks and weeks, your body fats start to shrink down and your muscle starts to come up. And this recomposition effect is going to be phenomenal. And because it's maintenance, there's not really a ton of diet fatigue in either direction. You're not tired of eating a ton of food and stuffing yourself. You're not tired of being fucking starving halfway through the middle of the night. So it's really awesome. Whatever you want to do with your diet, be it a fat loss phase after that several months back of maintenance or a muscle gain phase, that's totally up to you. But in the first couple of months back, maintenance is a really good thing so you can do that recomposition. Now, don't freak out. This is a maintenance diet on paper and really in reality, but you're going to gain a bunch of weight. What the fuck? You said maintenance. Yes. But remember, most of the weight you gain is going to be intramuscular water from that increase in tonus. Intramuscular water starts ballooning up just within days of you coming back, and certainly within weeks if you're training higher and higher volumes. So you're going to gain 4 to 8 pounds. And you're going to be like, dude, I got to back up off the eating. This isn't maintenance. It sure as shit is. But it's maintenance from where you were, and it's going to bring you right back up to where you were. Really, really awesome sort of situation. And that whole time, you're going to be losing fat and gaining muscle. This is an opportunity for you to be so sensitive to growth that you can actually recomp in a big way for the first time in, a year if you did this last year, or if you're coming to this video and you've never taken a month off, this will hook you up in a way that you haven't been hooked up for in years, which is really, really awesome. After about 3 months, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, of eating at maintenance and slowly ramping up your efforts, you are going to be in damn good shape. Probably close to, at, or a little bit beyond the best shape you've ever been in, combination of muscle and fat. And then it's time to start pushing your training hard into whatever direction you deem, be it a fat loss phase, be it a muscle growth phase, whatever it is you want. And then you are at a position at the end of that 3 months where you have, 6 to 9 months ahead of you, depending on how you slice things, of smooth, guaranteed, amazing progress, new progress, real progress, not regains, new gains. And that is that runway that you built for yourself precisely because you took a month off. So to wrap this up, am I saying you should take a month off? No. Am I cool with you not taking a month off? Totally. A week, 2, sometimes 3 is more than enough for very many people. And look, psychology's a motherfucker, right? Fuck taking a month off. Fuck that, Dr. Mike. I hear you 100%. But if you're really pushing your limits, if you've really exhausted yourself over the last XYZ months or years of training, if your joints hurt, if psychologically you got to admit to yourself that you're not even really jazzed to go to the gym anymore, and you need something to reinvigorate your gains, At least give some thought to taking a month off. And if you guys are in the comments, if you've ever taken a month off on purpose or maybe by accident, and then come back with some kind of reasonable reintroduction, tell us about the results you got. I'm really curious to hear your experiences, because often when I talk to people about this, the people that have never done it, they're like, dude, fuck that. Month off, fuck you. Hell no. But you talk to people who have done it before and they're like, yeah, man, I didn't believe it. As soon as I did it, I was pissed. A month after, I was pissed because I wasn't as jacked as I used to be. 3 months after, I was like, oh, wow, I weigh what I used to, and I got veins in places I haven't seen. And a couple months after that, I was at my all-time best. It was the goddamn greatest fucking thing I did. Just like a lot of people who are frayed out at work will take a vacation and in retrospect be like, thank God my wife dragged me out of the office to take a vacation. You know, the people who overwork, a lot of times their boss will be like, Frank, we're going to give you 2 weeks off. You don't have to travel anywhere, although here is a bonus if you'd like to, but you can't come to work. And I'm going to look at all your logins so that you're not logging in and working from home. You are one of our most valuable employees. We do not need you to burn out. Please rest. If you listen to your boss in that situation, which as I've been people's boss before, I've told them that, and when they do it and it works, they come back later and they're like, dude, I didn't know how bad I needed that. Now that I did that vacation, that time off, I'm so fresh. I'm so ready. I'm the most productive I've ever been. Because you get used to it. You get used to being unproductive. You get used to brain fog. And just the same way in the muscles response in the gym, you get used to like, man, my elbows hurts. What happens? Yeah, I don't get amazing pump. That's what happens. You take a month off and all of a sudden you come back and you're like, oh shit, this is what training is supposed to be like. So I'm not saying take a month off. I'm just saying think about it. Let me know in the comments what you think. See you guys next time.